Okay, it started.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 9th, 2023 meeting of the Mansfield Sustainability Committee. Got our great committee members in attendance and a number of things on the agenda. I wanted to entertain a motion to switch the order of the agenda so that we will do the Sustainable CT report right after approval of meeting minutes. So as number 3. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Great. So I'll entertain a motion now to approve the minutes of July 12th, 2023.
So moved.
Good. You're catching this, Ginny, right? We got a second. Let's see, we had Peter, I think, as a first, and a second was
Bill.
Gotcha. Great. All right. Any discussion about the minutes? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And even the dog is barking in favor. All right. So moved. Great. So we'll go to the Sustainable CT update from Lena.
Hi. I don't know if the document was shared with everybody, but I made some notes.
I can share the screen if you want. Do you guys want me to share the screen of what Lena put together?
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I have to figure out which one it is. I think it's this one. No,
Yep.
it's not that one. Let's see. Let me.
It looks like it.
I think that's it.
Oh, are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So last meeting, Jenny mentioned maybe looking through the notes, the recent meeting notes for committees that may be doing things that could be applicable to Sustainable CT. So what I did is I went through the list of committees and I read their most recent meeting minutes. I didn't have enough time really to go through several months worth or several meetings worth of meeting. And I just made notes of potential actions that they could include on the next round of Sustainable CT certification to try to work toward gold. And in the document, I noted potential areas and I also linked to the meeting minutes. So I don't know if everyone wanted to read through on their own, or Penny, do you want me to go through each bullet or?
I guess that's up to the committee how you want to proceed with this information. There's a second page here. It was a lot of work. So.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump into maybe ask Jenny or Elena to run this section of the meeting since I'm recusing myself from discussion on Sustainable CT.
Sure. Where this came from was I had met with the superintendent of schools, and in that meeting with him, I had mentioned Sustainable CT and the town's wish to apply for gold certification in 2025. And he had said that what would be most helpful would be to give to him what the school board or Board of Education should be working on. So instead of just here's sustainable CT, what do you want to work on? So he really wanted some drilled down specific actions. So that's where what Lena did was geared toward that. So we go back to the committees and say, look, you're working on this. This might apply to 11.1, for instance, for the Affordable Housing Committee. Would you look at that and see if that's something that you would that you're working toward, and kind of look at the directions to see if it falls in with what you're doing, that sort of thing. So that was the premise behind it. So would you like Lena to go through the various committees and possible actions, or do you want to look this over and just...
Personally, this text is too hard for me to read. So I wouldn't mind if Lena went through it. I don't know whether that would be boring to other people, but that's the only way to absorb it right at the moment.
Okay, I can start. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So under the heading of Affordable Housing Committee, I had a couple of questions. They already had an affordable action plan underway because that would apply to section 11.1, or if they had a policy for sustainable diverse housing options, which would fall under 11.3. And I know Katie is Katie on the Affordable Housing Committee? Maybe she could answer those questions for me. Anyways, bullet 2, in their July 6th minutes, they talk about the villages at Four Corners and potential mixed use development affordable housing plan. And I thought that perhaps those efforts could count toward bullet point 11.2 on the sustainable CT actions, which is grow sustainable and affordable housing options. So under the agricultural committee, I didn't see a lot there, but they did mention that we're going for gold and for the next certification cycle, so it's on their radar. And I can connect with Stacy Stearns to see if they have any plans or anything underway. The Arts Advisory Committee, in their May 2nd minutes, they talked about a potential event to promote cultural equity. And I thought this could count toward bullet point 4.2, especially if we partnered with them somehow. The Conservation Committee obviously has a lot of things going on. And I connected with their committee chair to see if they would be interested in doing watershed education outreach of some sort, because that would count towards certification. And I also think the public would find it interesting to learn more. I'm kind of a hydrology nerd, I guess, so I would find it interesting. I also asked if there's anything underway for 3.6, which is managed for drought and municipal water waste use, or 3.7, which is to provide education on responsible water usage, though this might fall under another committee's purview. In their meeting minutes from May 17th, they talk about a number of low impact development projects, and I thought it would be a good idea to connect with them for details when filling out the next application, because in 2019, we only got 20 points out of potential 105. So I think that there's some opportunity there to get more points. And I also noted that maybe we should ask if there are any plans underway for dark skies, because that would fall under section 3.13. For the downtown partnership, their meeting minutes from June 7th mentioned a plan to improve the downtown's public spaces, which includes installing shade structures sometime this summer. So I thought that that could potentially fit under action 10.6, which I did not note what that was, but I believe it's to make like cooling stations. And shade's very important for that. For the Economic Development Commission, in the May 18th minutes, they mentioned efforts to add sidewalks to connect the housing development at Four Corners to Yukon, which was moved to subcommittee. Under the Human Rights Commission, the June 14th minutes mentioned equity training. That's section 1.2, and the Sustainable CT Equity Statement for gold rating. So that is on their radar also. And there was mention for potential community conversations, which could perhaps be an opportunity for collaboration to satisfy action 8.2, which was to provide effective community communications, or point 8.7, which is engage with youth on community sustainability. The Human Services Advisory Committee, in their most recent minutes from February 1st, they mentioned some actions that I thought could fall underneath 12.4, which is provide or mobilize resources to address homelessness. The Parks and Natural Resources Commission, in their minutes from July 18th, they discussed publicly accessed trails for new developments. And I thought this could maybe fit underneath action 6.5, which is to promote public transportation and other mobility strategies. There was also discussion about starting a bike working group and a motion to make improvements to bridges so they can be active transport friendly as well as car friendly. And I thought this could fall underneath action 6.1, which was implement complete streets. And the Transportation Advisory Committee in the meeting minutes from April 13th mentioned streets. Again, 6.1 is implement complete streets. The minutes also mentioned the draft bicycle pedestrian master plan that could fit under action 6.5, which is promote public transportation and other mobility strategies. And we're on to the last one, Youth Services Advisory Board. In their meeting minutes from June 13th, they mentioned collaborating with Farms and Families program to support access to local food for Mansfield residents who have identified a need related to food insecurity. And I couldn't find a specific category where this would fall under, so I thought maybe it could be included underneath 13.1, which is implement your own sustainability action. I also thought that perhaps the recent Pride events could fall underneath section 4.4, which is provide an arts and cultural program for youth. And that's it.
Thank you, Lena. So, how do folks feel about next steps in terms of the one board that's missing is the Board of Education. I was hoping Susanna would be here to speak on that, but I think that they have probably a number of actions that could be applied to sustainable CT. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee is hoping to get some kind of robust compost collection going, whether it's curbside or whether it's combined, you know, like a location where people can drop off food scraps. But actually we've gone out to bid now for the single family contract, and compost pickup is included in it. So we'll see how that turns out. So the Solid Waste Advisory Committee is is keyed into this. You know, we're also focused on electronics reuse. If we can get something going with deconstruction and salvaging more building materials, that would also fall into an action, I believe, in sustainable CT. So if this committee gets something going with PowerSmart, that's also sustainable CT action. So how would you like to proceed with this information?
Maybe the next step would be to divide up the potential next steps between us, and we could each approach a committee or do research on the different things I've noted here. I don't know.
What do folks think of that?
For myself, I'm embarked on 2 or 3 projects that don't leave me with enough time to do this. I want to congratulate Lena. You know, that's a lot of work. That's interesting results, but I would have to bow out on proceeding on that.
What I could do as the staff person is reach out to these committees and the staff person that works with the committee and the chairperson, and just start asking the question of whether they're, you know, whether their actions that they're working on could link in with the things that you identified, Lena. If nobody's volunteering to do part of the list.
I can connect with the agricultural committee and reconnect with the conservation commission, if that's helpful.
Yes, sure.
Trying to think if there's anybody else on here that I know that I can bug.
Well, maybe I'll just jump in on process stuff that, yeah, this is very impressive, Lena, and cool to see a lot happening in different spaces and committees. Suzanne, I think, would probably be a great resource with the Board of Ed stuff, and Katie's, you know, pretty engaged in this too. So whether she's on the Affordable Housing Committee or not. Al, do you know if Katie's on the Affordable Housing Committee?
She was, but now she is not anymore. She
Okay,
has stepped aside from that committee.
okay. Well, she may have some thoughts on some of the,
Yeah, I
Zoning
still think
regulations.
she's would be engaged with that. Yeah, absolutely. Nice of me to throw her up there, but yeah.
Could you ask her, Al?
And deconstruction. I'm sorry?
Could you ask her if she'd
Right-
be
right now
willing?
she's a-
No,
oh, no,
no.
not,
But could you ask her after
Yeah,
the
I can ask
meeting?
her, sure.
Yeah, if she'd
Yeah.
reach out to the Affordable Housing Committee. Okay,
I believe she's also getting involved with deconstruction too.
she is. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's helped with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that
Okay.
could feed into sustainable CT, perhaps. And the new school eligible for credit. So yeah. Ginny, I know in the past we've had an intern help, and I know Sustainable CT has a lot of UConn students working this summer that are like fully trained in this stuff. So if you wanted, Jess could give you, or they're on our website, UConn students, and Jess could give you contact information if you wanted to pursue that again. They might just be able to kind of like help with some of the coordination and thoughts.
thanks, Lena, for all
Yeah.
your good work.
Thank you so much, Lena. It's
Happy to
great.
help.
And Josh is involved too, right? Josh Walters, or not so much on that committee? I'm on the Sustainable CT group.
He's the chair.
Yeah. Yes, he has. Yep.
Okay. Great. Any other questions, comments, conversation on this agenda item? All right, Lena, thanks for making time. I know you have to run. Appreciate it. Thanks for
Have
your
a
work.
great month, everyone.
Yeah,
I do too.
Bye.
Bye, Lena.
Okay. So let's move to the next agenda item, Celebrate Mansfield Festival, which is September 30th. So I imagine this is on there because sometimes we've had a booth or a present. In fact, Lena did something last year or the year before, as I recall. Is that, Ginny, do you have specific thoughts, or just kind of seeing if there was interest from the committee of doing anything to participate?
It was really putting out the question, does the committee want to have a table activity at the festival? And if so, what? And who would be there? So
Do you know, well, you must know, is SWAC have a table, or they focus on helping to manage materials and guide people to do the right thing during the event?
actually, we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to do that starting this year
Oh.
because it was so hard. Well, a couple reasons. It was difficult getting volunteers to be at the sorting stations. I mean, there will be a recycle containers there.
Mm.
And then the other piece was there were so few food vendors that were actually
Oh,
at the festival, that most of the waste generated from the festival is from surrounding businesses. So you know, there is a focus on activities, preventing waste, which is, you know, has high marks. And yeah, we're doing away with the composting and the compostable food serviceware this year. So no manning waste stations. And at next week's meeting, I'll find out if the Solid Waste Advisory Committee will be doing some activity. I think they will, and I'll probably be around waste prevention. And it might turn out to be like just videotaping people, their responses to certain questions about waste prevention. So
okay. So anyone have any thoughts or feel excited about a booth from our committee?
You know, I'm trying to think of something that would excite me enough to do the planning, which is the more of the time, and actually showing up. You know, last year, Nancy Silander and I corralled a bunch of EV owners and
Yeah.
the EV showcase, and it just actually seemed worthwhile to me. It was a lot of work, and I haven't heard from Nancy, and and again, I'm just kind of up to my ears on some other things, and so I had decided not to do the EV showcase again. Maybe next year, maybe every other year or something like that.
So Peter, was that during Celebrate? That was a separate event, right? Or
Nope,
was it
nope.
part of Celebrate?
It was part of Celebrate.
Oh, okay.
It was between where most of those businesses are closed. It was sort of in front of T-Mobile.
Uh-huh.
So it was off by itself, but it was definitely part of Celebrate, and we coordinated with Cynthia.
Okay.
And enough people showed up that we were not overrun with people, but we were certainly had some people show up, and some interesting things happened, and the EV owners themselves enjoyed talking to each other. But I don't think I have the energy for it this year.
Yeah. Understood. I mean, it could be a cool idea if someone wants to do the same thing, and they could reach out to Nancy or anyone else to see if there's a partner to repeat the EV.
I mean, if anybody
Um,
wanted to do that, I would be glad to share the, you know, a lot of it is finding people. And I have I have a list of a lot, you know, enough of the EV owners in town that, but corralling them and getting it all set up is another matter.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Does anyone feel interested in that in particular, or any other topic? I mean, another thing we could do is see what, you know, solid waste or other committees are doing, and maybe join with another committee. All of them overlap with, a lot of them overlap with sustainability, as we just saw with Lena's research. So that could be another option. Who's the staff person for the ag committee these days, Ginny? Is Jennifer still doing it? Do you know?
No, it's Michael Stanovich.
Okay.
Yeah, he's newish. So yeah, he's the staff person for that. I don't know what the ag committee would be doing. I mean, this committee has worked on a pollinator resolution and climate action resolution. So those are some things this committee has spearheaded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of those themes. I will say though, if something's to be done, it needs to be decided tonight, because next week is the deadline.
Ah,
So
all right. Yeah, well, then it doesn't seem like anyone's necessarily got an idea they're passionate about, or the time. Should we just pass on this one this year? And
yeah,
maybe when SWAC decides if they need extra volunteers and anyone from our committee wants to help out with them, we could do something like that.
sure. Yep.
Okay.
In theory, I would be willing to put in a couple of hours on that particular day just to show up, but I don't know that much about what SWAC is doing, so I might just make stuff up. And but you know, I don't mind meeting people and in any way, but the planning of something and putting it together is just something I'm not up for. But
Yeah.
if they want somebody to take a 2-hour stint, it would have to be with somebody else. who actually knows what they're talking about on solid waste issues. But I would be willing to do that.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Great. So we'll keep our eyes open for other committees that are doing something and offer up seeing if people from our committee would help volunteer. Oh, I missed report to the town council. Okay, that was the prior agenda item. So we are on the docket for September 22nd, 26th town council meeting, which is on a Tuesday, you said, Ginny, for some reason. As opposed
Yeah,
to usual Monday meeting. Yeah, Rosh Hashanah,
Yom Kippur, sorry.
Yom Kippur. Okay.
Yep.
Good. So I think the plan was we would do a brief report on what we've been working on because we haven't done that in a while. And I volunteered to put that piece together. And they're also considering the Power Smart campaign that night, right? At that meeting? Is that right?
Yes, so the let's see, the town manager's office had some questions about Power Smart, which were answered, and they've given the nod of approval to bring it to town council. So this would be the time to bring it to town council. And and Patrice Gillespie and I believe Bob Wall also will be on hand for that meeting to answer any questions. So, this, since you're reporting to the town council of what you've done and what you're working on, it seems like that's the time to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So we can include that, but we don't need to be the main presenters on that Power Smart. We can endorse it.
And I'd be willing to show up for moral support.
Awesome.
Ginny, so you're talking Tuesday, the 26th of September at 7:00-ish, depending on where we are on the agenda.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead.
I would know where you are on the agenda. It's probably going to be new business. So, but I'll have a better idea when the agenda comes out like the week before. So I'll send that out.
Okay, great. So, maybe I'll just take a minute to go over what I thought I would, just the overview I'd provide for the work our committee's been doing. And I can look back and find dates a little bit better, but I thought it would be really important to remind them that we worked with the town council to have them pass a resolution for net zero carbon emissions from municipal operations by 2030. And, we've had the town manager and facilities director in to talk about progress on that. It's focused a lot on buildings, which is really important. But there might be other areas in other departments that need some attention. So at any rate, I will remind them of that and the requirements of it, and that we're here, stand by as resources to support. I'll include in my overview that the group is working on sustainable CT certification at the gold level, and working with other committees on things to pull that together. That we've been part of starting a subcommittee. It's actually a committee of SWAT, a solid waste advisory committee on deconstruction that a lot of us, at least 3 people from our committee and a few people from solid waste have participated in, to just kind of delve into some learning around deconstruction and infrastructure and contractors in town, and if they do anything, what they would do. We'll have probably have another meeting maybe before the 26th, so I can refresh my mind on exactly where we are on that. I think our goals had been to suggest to the council at some point that any future demolition of town buildings should place a priority on deconstruction. I don't think we're ready to do that on the 26th, but we'll give them the heads up that that's coming. And at the same time we're doing the research and preparing some thoughts on how deconstruction could be encouraged and supported for non-town buildings. And maybe that starts with an education and support effort, and see if it moves into anything in terms of more regulatory over time. We have had certainly input with the school building committee on the net zero school over the years of that development, and I'll congratulate the town council and the town on the new building opening and all that great stuff. We advocated for the Power Smart, which they'll hear about that night. Our committee has presented to EO Smith about opportunities for solar canopies and parking lot. I don't know if there's anything, I wasn't part of that. Peter, I think you did it. Is there anything particular to highlight about that?
Solar canopies in the parking lot.
At EO? Didn't you go before the EO?
Yeah, Matt and I both did.
Okay.
Nothing much has come of it. I would, if forced to, I could, it's interesting. Both New York and Massachusetts are subsidizing solar canopies, but Connecticut so far is not.
Okay.
But two of our neighboring states think that it's worthwhile. Maybe the fact that they're subsidizing them is an argument that to wait until Connecticut subsidizes them, and to a small degree, about 6 cents per kilowatt hour. Anyways. Yeah.
Okay.
I think basically, the superintendent must have a ton on her plate, and the board too, but I think if there's not a big enough movement of parents or students to encourage something like that, I'm guessing it probably won't go anywhere. So if it was something the community and there was follow-up, I don't know if our committee wanted to send a letter to the school and say, I know you were thinking about it, or we did a presentation on this, or we talked about it. I don't know if it'd be worth following up. I think Peter's right, though. If the state would kick in funding or whatever, that would be a no-brainer then. But it might be just something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that maybe some additional incentives would make it more enticing and more cost effective. Let's see what else. We followed the legislation around packaging and extended producer responsibility. We didn't interact as a committee on any state legislation, but individual members may have shared stuff with neighbors about that. And we had a presentation from Circa about assistance to municipalities, and I will add in some more details on that, and if there are any opportunities that seem relevant to mention. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I had on my list. Ginny and I emailed about it, so that's kind of a compilation of both of our thoughts. But anything else come to mind? Or yeah, Al.
Yeah, having sat on the council myself, it's okay to, I hate to use this phrase, but dumb it down. In other words, it's also for the audience listening. And the
Mhm.
counselors, sometimes, I mean, we're aware of a lot of the things that, but we're not, I say we, they are not allowed, they don't have it all. So it's definitely good to remind them of different things that have been voted on. But
Yeah,
it's also the listening audience that it's okay to explain to them why we want the gold certification, how that's really going to be impactful to the town, and sort of educate them.
okay,
So you're sort of speaking beyond the council at times to the listening audience. And I think it's okay to get into why it's important to do certain things, not just list them out. But I think
Yeah.
you're on the right track.
that is really great advice. Love it. Will do. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
You know, Lynn, although in a sense, in organizing the EV showcase last year,
Oh, yeah.
I did not do it, I didn't do it officially as a member of the committee, but I am a
Mhm.
member of the committee.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to add another line item that a member of our committee organized an EV showcase during Celebrate Mansfield.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will do that.
And there were no car accidents during that showcase.
Good. People doing test drives, they didn't hit any of the downtown buildings.
Right.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Okay, anyone else have any thoughts? Then we've got a little while. I'll polish this up and include, yeah. I'll make it responsive to these great comments from Al and Peter. So if anything occurs to you, or you're like, oh yeah, we forgot about this, shoot me an email and I'll include it. Ginny, do you know like how long on the agenda? Are we sharing like an agenda item with Power Smart, or is this a separate thing? Do you have any idea how long, or do we just wait to see the agenda and find out then?
This Power Smart's going to be incorporated into your report. So I would say, like,
Ah,
if you're speaking on what the committee did and then what the committee is now working on, I think I would conclude with Power Smart.
okay, so I'm
So-
gonna hand it off. Yep, okay.
And explain what it is, the program, and that, yeah, that it's a campaign, yeah. Or if you think it'd be more appropriate to hand it off to Bob Wall or Patrice Gillespie to actually then speak to the program. We should
Okay.
coordinate all that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's coordinate whether they, yeah, want to do a quick presentation. I think it's probably, as to Al's point, good to have someone really get into the basics of it, especially if we're asking them to vote on it, or it's on their agenda for a vote. So, yeah, you and I, let's coordinate with Bob and Patrice. I think it
Okay.
makes sense for me to kind of intro it and pass it to them, and then we have a sense of how long on the agenda. They can know they have 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever.
Ginny,
Okay.
is the town manager bringing this to the council an explicit or implicit endorsement of the proposition that the town do Power Smart, or is it much more, or is it more neutral than that?
That's that I don't know. I mean, I was thinking, well, yeah, I don't know, and I will ask.
Because I'm definitely not looking for a speaking role. I'm happy to just sit there. But if I had to say something, I would certainly want to thank the town manager for going, for spending staff time to look at this important program. And but I'm a lot more likely to thank him if he's in essence endorsing it, saying, we've looked this over and we don't see a problem. I just,
So I will ask how this should be structured for the meeting. If the town manager is looking for the town council to vote on this, or if, yeah, are you thinking it would be, Al, that town council would be voting on it? I know you're not on
I'm
town
not sure.
council anymore, but I
I'm
mean,
not on town council anymore, so I don't know.
but I mean, is this the kind of thing where it'd be likely that the manager would want the town council to vote on?
I would say it could, yeah, I could go that way, sure. I believe
Okay.
that would be his intent.
Okay, but I'll clarify that then, and that can then help frame what you're going to say, Lynn, and maybe Peter, you could say something during public comment then.
yeah, maybe during public, but Al, does if the town manager brings something like this to the town council, is it implied, or is it explicitly an endorsement saying, I think this is something that the town should do, but it's certainly up to the town council?
Well, any motion that is brought forward is a suggested motion in the packet. So if there's a motion to be made, the staff will recommend a motion to be made and they'll spell it out. If they don't have a recommendation, or if this is just for information, there won't be a motion. It'll be, this is just an informational time of the meeting. And that I don't know what his thoughts are and what staff's thoughts are. I can't without, knowing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know Maria spent some time looking into it. And Peter, yeah. It's a great point to acknowledge that and thank them for doing that. And, before I'm sure you can find out from the town manager's office before, as the packet goes out. It'll
Okay.
be clear how it's coming to the town council.
Perfect.
And if
Yeah,
he'll have a memo behind it that will probably say, Maria, we looked into this, Maria found this and that, Ginny got answers to our questions on this and that, and then some kind of conclusive thing, I would think.
I typically prepare the thing for the packet. So the agenda item summary. So, but I'll find out well in advance of that. Like I'll ask tomorrow, for instance, about what the intention is so that you guys know how to line things up.
Okay, great. And then we'll work with Bob and Patrice. Yeah. Accordingly. And Peter will let you know. We can let the whole committee know.
That would be great.
Where
Thank
it's
you.
headed. Yeah. Great. Okay, so that's probably enough on any last thoughts or comments on the committee report? Okay, great. Thank you all. Let's move on to Deconstruction Subcommittee. Yeah. So, Ginny, do you, I've attended these, but I don't have it at the top of my head where we are right now. Do you mind doing?
No, I
an update?
don't.
Thank you.
So, right now, Katie mailed out a questionnaire for contractors.
Oh, right.
I haven't gotten any responses. I have talked to 2 contractors and I have 2 messages into 2 more contractors. The subcommittee wants to really just get a lay of the land. Like, what are contractors doing? Are they salvaging materials, what's working. Do they even know what deconstruction is? Which, interestingly enough, they don't. The two that I talked to kind of conflate recycling with deconstruction, and they're not. That's not what it is. But I got the two people that I spoke to, some really interesting feedback. Some things that I think we could work with that would move along building reuse, material reuse. And then the other thing was inviting the building department to the next meeting, which isn't going to happen, but because the director's not available. But so those were the two kind of legs of what was going on. One of the members looked into the building permit pages to see where information about deconstruction might be placed strategically on the website. And so that's in the works also, in terms of like how frequently people use the web pages and where would be the best place to put information.
Great. Yeah, I'm just taking some notes to be able to say for the town council thing. So that's good. And I guess we've been meeting like monthly, right, Ginny? And we'll continue onward.
Yeah, the next meeting is August 28th at 5 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have some more updates then. Any questions on the deconstruction efforts? All right. Well, 5 minutes to 7. Does anyone have any other business to bring to the committee?
I'll just say that I don't have time to do anything on deconstruction, but I think it's a great topic, and I'm glad somebody's working on it. There's one thing that I heard. I think that there's been a change in Connecticut regulations that is going to, it's some sort of a confluence between Connecticut regulations and the Inflation Reduction Act. And as I understand it, and I do not understand it entirely, but affordable housing, doing solar for affordable housing is about to become easier because it has been moved from being considered commercial or non-residential program to part of the residential renewable energy solutions program, which means that it's not subject to a cap and that there are some IRA funds that are coming in. And I, like a few other people, are trying to understand this so we can actually talk about it better. But it may be something, I would love to see it applicable to our affordable housing complexes in town. The Housing Authority. I don't know whether Orchard Hill is, that must be sort of part of it, but I don't really understand the structure, and it depends whether residents pay for electricity and heat or not. But in any case, it's just something that is on my mind that I heard that I thought was pretty fascinating. And
yeah, that is great to hear. Be interested to, we'll keep our heads up for more details we can share with each other. All right. Any final thoughts before we conclude? Okay. We'll
have a great rest of the
entertain
summer.
a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. I think that does it. And thank you everyone for your time and
Thank you.
comments tonight. And yeah, have a good month.
Too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take
Okay,
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
bye.